Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. Watch my video and subscribe my channel.
Bill absolutely unleashes on Luna, and Sheila celebrates her granddaughter's impressive scheme. In the Forrester guest house, Electra and Will express their love. She suggests that he tell her what he wants to so they can get it out of the way. Will admits he's struggling as Electra reminds him that he can tell her anything. She's happier than she's ever been because of him. Will wilts from the guilt he's feeling. As the writers lay it on thick before the big reveal, Electra goes on about how honest he is and how she never has to worry about him and some other girl. Electra will crew BNB. Hope finds Katie agonizing in the Forrester design office and asks what's going on. Katie admits, it's Will. Filling time in the episode, Hope gushes about Electra and Will's love. Katie mutters that he would never want to hurt her in any way. More, BNB Weekly Preview. Luna vs. Bill. At Bill's place, Luna goes on about loving Will. Bill fumes that he won't let his son's life be ruined by the likes of her. He intones, this pregnancy is going to end one way or another. Luna protests that he can't force her to get an abortion. The rapist and murderer rails that he's a monster for suggesting something so horrible. Bill BNB. Bill's unmoved and rails about her arrogance in trying to get away with this. He knows what this is really about and warns she's messing with the wrong man and the wrong family. Dollar Bill declares that she will never give birth to a Spencer child. Luna shrugs, guess we'll see about that, won't we? Bill warns she's out of her league going up against him, there is nothing you wouldn't do to protect his sons. Luna Bill BNB. Luna can't believe he hates her that much, he was once her biggest advocate. She knows Will wouldn't want her to get rid of their baby. She'll be the woman in his life for years to come. Will, me, and our baby. Bill makes a call, telling the person on the other end that they need to speak in person. He then tells Luna she's a devious, conniving little bitch. Lee should have left her to die and saved him the trouble. Luna Bill BNB. As Luna walks off to go lay down, Katie enters. Bill tells her they have to keep Luna on lockdown and keep the secret that she's alive until he comes up with a solution. Katie tears up over Will's guilt. Over what she did. What are we going to do about this? Bill won't allow her to destroy their son's life. Katie hollers that she already has. She targeted their son and hurt him. She hurt our boy. She can't get away with it. Bill learns Will is with Electra right now telling her. More, Ashley Jones' horror story. Can Lee and Sheila get on the same page? At Il Giardino, Sheila pours wine for her and Lee as they discuss Luna being pregnant and Bill hitting the roof. They debate whether Will is the father. Lee sniffs that the Spencers will insist on a paternity test. Sheila says if the baby is Will's it will keep Luna out of jail. More, who is Deke Sharp? Sitting, Lee warns Sheila that Luna could be in police custody. Sheila thinks she'd have called. But she wonders what Bill has done with her. Lee makes it clear she's washing her hands of their granddaughter, what she did to Will was unconscionable. Sheila's sure she doesn't want to see her go back to prison just because she got pregnant by Bill and Katie's precious little son. Lee Sheila BNB. Lee decides she was foolish thinking she could make a difference in Luna's life. She wonders if Sheila helped Luna come up with her little scheme. Sheila denies it. Lee's sure it was calculated, it's her way of staying out of jail. Sheila admires her outfoxing Dollar Bill and the rest of the Spencers, it's pretty impressive. More, BNB just revealed Taylor's new love interest. Will Electra's world be shattered? At Electra's, as Will's about to get down to brass tacks, Electra, of course, decides it's the perfect time to toast to their future. They slow dance and Electra goes over their love story, which has transformed her. A tear rolls down his cheek as he asks her to believe in that. There's no one else in this world for me. No one. Crying, he hates to have to tell her this, but you deserve to know. Electra braces, you can tell me anything. Will says something happened the night of his promotion party. Something you need to know about. The storm at the heart of the Spencer, Forrester, and Finnegan families had been building for weeks, but nothing could have prepared anyone for the sheer fury that exploded when Bill Spencer came face to face with Luna Nozawa and unleashed every ounce of rage, fear, and disgust he had been bottling up, because in Bill's mind there was nothing more vile than a woman who had targeted his son, tricked him, seduced him, and then had the audacity to claim that she was carrying the next Spencer heir. And though Luna tried desperately to hold her ground, to insist that what she shared with Will was real, to plead that she loved him, Bill wasn't buying it, not for 1 second, and his voice roared through the walls of his mansion as he promised that her so-called pregnancy was going to end, whether she liked it or not. Because Bill Spencer wasn't about to allow some manipulative girl with a dark past and an opportunistic streak to sink her claws into his family and destroy his son's future. And while all of this was unfolding in the Spencer estate, at the Forrester guest house a far softer scene was playing out, where Will Spencer stood with Electra Forrester, the woman who had become his anchor, his safe haven, and the one person he had promised himself he would never betray, yet there he was, torn apart by guilt, ready to confess the truth about what had happened the night of his promotion party, because no matter how much he tried to push it aside, to forget, to bury it, beneath the intoxicating happiness Electra brought into his life, the guilt of that night with Luna hung over him like a shadow, eating away at him every time she looked at him with those trusting eyes and told him how much she believed in his honesty, how grateful she was to have found a man she never had to worry about, and Will, weak from the burden of his secret, could only wilt under the crushing weight of her words, knowing that when he finally spoke them aloud, when he finally told her about Luna, the world they had built together would shatter into pieces, and yet he couldn't stop himself, because she deserved the truth, even if it meant losing her, even if it meant tearing apart the life they had just begun. And across town, in the Forrester Creations design office, Katie Logan found herself confiding in hope, unable to hold back the torment that had been eating away at her since the truth about Luna and Will had come to light, whispering that her son was in pain, that he was being manipulated by a girl who didn't deserve him, that her sweet, sensitive boy had been scarred in ways he might never recover from, and as Hope tried to offer her comfort, trying to remind her of the love Will had with Electra, Katie could barely hold back tears because she knew that love was tainted now, poisoned by what Luna had done, and no matter how much Hope wanted to see light in the darkness, Katie could only mutter that her son would never willingly hurt Electra, never willingly risk her happiness, unless of course he had already been trapped, already ensnared, already manipulated into doing something that made him feel guilty every single day since, and that was exactly what had happened, and that was exactly why Bill was so enraged, because Bill knew his son, Bill knew the kind of man Will was, and Bill knew that only a predator could take advantage of him in that way, which was why when Luna tried to stand her ground in his living room, declaring that she loved Will, that she would be his wife and the mother of his child, Bill's fury boiled over and he spat words so venomous they cut through the air like knives, calling her arrogant, devious, a conniving little bitch who should have been left to die when Lee pulled her back from the brink, because then they would all have been spared this nightmare. And though Luna tried to act unbothered, shrugging that they would see about that, the truth was she was shaken, rattled by the sheer force of his fury, because Bill wasn't bluffing. Bill wasn't making idle threats. Bill was a man who had gone to war with ruthless enemies before, and he was making it clear that there was nothing, absolutely nothing, he wouldn't do to protect his sons. And when Katie entered moments later, the tension in the room only deepened, because Katie was caught between her maternal instincts and her horror at what Luna had done, and while she agreed with Bill that Luna had to be stopped, that she couldn't be allowed to ruin their son's life, she also broke down under the weight of it all, crying out that it was already too late, that their boy had already been hurt, already been targeted, already been scarred, and as Bill vowed to find a solution, to come up with a way to keep Luna locked down and hidden away until he decided what to do, Katie demanded to know how they would ever undo what had already been done, how they could ever protect Will's heart when it had already been broken, already burdened with guilt he didn't deserve to carry, and as she shouted that Luna had hurt their boy, that she couldn't be allowed to walk away from this, Bill's phone call to a mysterious contact left no doubt that drastic measures were coming, that Luna's days of scheming were numbered, and meanwhile, at Il Giardino, another tense meeting was unfolding, this time between Sheila Carter and Lee Finnegan, two women bound together by blood yet divided by morality, sipping wine as they dissected the chaos that had erupted around their granddaughter, because while Lee could only condemn Luna, calling her actions unconscionable, swearing she wanted nothing more to do with the girl, Sheila, in her twisted way, couldn't help but admire what Luna had pulled off, marveling that she had outfoxed Bill and managed to tie herself to the powerful Spencer family through a pregnancy, whether real or fabricated, and Lily sneered that it was all calculated, that it was nothing but a ploy to stay out of prison. Sheila found herself celebrating Luna's ingenuity, smirking that it was impressive to see the girl play such a dangerous game and hold her own against a man like Bill, because Sheila, unlikely, had never been one to balk at schemes, especially when they came from family, but Lee, shaking her head, declared that she had been a fool to think she could make a difference in Luna's life, that her attempts at guiding her had been wasted, and as the two women sat there in tense opposition, one washing her hands of her granddaughter and the other raising a glass to her cleverness, the stage was being set for even more heartbreak, because back at Electra's, the fragile illusion of happiness between her and Will was about to be shattered, as Will, overcome with tears, finally began to open his mouth, to confess that something had happened the night of his promotion party, something Electra deserved to know, something that would change everything, and as Electra held him close, assuring him that he could tell her anything, that she loved him no matter what, Will's voice broke as he told her there was no one else in the world for him, no one but her, and yet, even as he swore it, the truth trembled on his lips, the truth that Luna had taken something from him, the truth that his guilt had been eating him alive, the truth that would send Electra's perfect world crashing down around her when the words finally left his mouth, and while Will's trembling voice cracked as he prepared to tell Electra the truth, across town Bill was pacing like a caged animal in his mansion, his fists clenched so tightly his knuckles had gone white, his blood boiling with every thought of Luna daring to stand in his house and claim that she would be the mother of his grandchild, because Bill didn't just see Luna as a liar, he saw her as a thief, someone who had stolen his son's innocence, someone who had taken advantage of Will's trusting heart, and as he paced, Katie tried to steady him, though she was barely keeping herself together, her own tears flowing freely as she admitted that she couldn't stop thinking about the look on Will's face when he had confessed to her, the weight of guilt he carried, the way his voice shook when he insisted he hadn't meant for any of it to happen, and Katie, a mother through and through, wanted nothing more than to pull her son out of this nightmare, to hold him, to shield him, to tell him none of it was his fault, but the truth was too heavy to erase, too real to ignore, and Bill, hardened by decades of fighting ruthless enemies in business and in life, made a vow then and there that he would be the one to carry that weight for Will. He would be the one to clean up the mess, he would be the one to make Luna regret every step she had taken toward his family, and when Bill Spencer made a vow like that, the world tended to tremble, because Bill wasn't just a man, he was a force, and Luna had no idea what she had awakened in him. Meanwhile, back at Il Giardino, Sheila's lips curled into that infuriating smirk as she swirled her wine, clearly savoring every word of Lee's condemnation, because where Lee saw betrayal and disgrace, Sheila saw strategy and survival, and in her twisted mind, Luna had finally proven herself as Sheila's granddaughter, as someone who could think on her feet, someone who could manipulate powerful men, someone who could keep herself out of a cage by turning the tables, and though Lee tried to drown her disgust in the wineglass Sheila had filled, her voice remained sharp, biting, as she told Sheila that admiration for schemes was exactly why she would never trust her, exactly why Luna was doomed, because blood couldn't erase the damage done by choices, and Luna had chosen to ruin Will Spencer's life, and that was something Lee couldn't forgive, wouldn't forgive, not as a doctor, not as a mother, not as a human being, and though Sheila leaned back and laughed softly, saying it was pretty impressive that Luna had Dollar Bill Spencer fuming and off balance, Lee's face hardened into stone, because admiration meant nothing to her, only consequences, and she swore she would never lift another finger to save Luna, even if Sheila wanted to wrap her arms around her and celebrate her so-called cunning, because in Lee's mind, cunning was nothing but cruelty dressed up with a smile, but even as they sat there clashing, the walls were closing in on everyone, because Electra, blissfully unaware of just how deep Will's guilt ran, was still twirling with him in her arms, smiling through tears as she whispered that their love was the greatest gift of her life, that she would never doubt him, that there was no one else she could ever want, and Will, breaking apart inside, clung to her as if it was the last time, because he knew once the truth left his lips, once he told her about Luna, there would be no going back, and though he wanted to believe she would forgive him, that she would understand the manipulation, that she would see the pain in his eyes and recognize that he was a victim too, a part of him feared that this revelation would destroy her, would erase the light in her eyes, would turn her love into bitterness, and as the clock ticked forward, and his mouth formed the words, the storm that had been raging through the Spencer mansion, the Forrester offices, and the quiet corner of Il Giardino was about to break open with thunder, because everything, Bill's fury, Katie's heartbreak, Sheila's admiration, Lee's disgust, and Electra's fragile trust, was heading toward a single, devastating collision.